Welcome to What's Your Story, where we, Jamie Marco,
and Stan Brown,
delve into the extraordinary lives of everyday people.
Listen in as we uncover the unique tales that shape who we are,
one story at a time.
Hey, let's get ready to explore today's story.
Let's do it. Hi, Dad.
Oh, hello, everybody out there in podcast land.
Yeah, how are you feeling today?
I'm pretty good for a guy of my meager years. I'm doing okay.
Scale of 1 to 10?
9.125.
Not too bad. 9.125. You know, I'm actually wearing my new hat. See?
What's your number? Connect, encourage, inspire.
Look at that. What's your number, right? I got one of the hats and I wore it the other day. And somebody was like, what do you mean, what's your number?
Starts a conversation.
I know. And that's why we're doing these, right?
And I said 20 and said, give me your wallet.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody last night and we were talking about the podcast. She said, how's your podcast going? So it's going great. I'm having fun. You know, she's like, well, how many downloads? I'm like, I don't know. Really look at it.
Everybody goes by numbers and statistics. Just have fun.
I know. But the thing, what was funny is she's like, what made you start the podcast? And I said, well, I realized that we have all these podcasts out there that are about celebrities, and celebrities are like, you know, people are so fascinated by them, but it's like the people like you and I, or the people at this table or wherever we're at, that really have the most fascinating stories. And so she's like, well, what types of people have you had on? And I've talked to like literally anybody who wants to be a guest. We'll talk with you.
Live under a rock?
Why?
I didn't mean Iraq. I mean under a rock.
You look black and white, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Have you?
It's just a new image I'm projecting.
Or maybe you got your haircut?
Haircut, ears lowered. You project thinner, you are thinner. This is without Ozempic.
You lowered your ears?
Well, that's an old expression. To get a haircut, no, I just lowered my ears.
Oh.
You know, I've got to bring you into the past.
Why I was saying to them, I was saying that, you know, one of the reasons why we started this is that when my grandmother was like probably your age, actually, I did a bunch of videos with her asking her questions about her life and learning about her life. And I'm so glad I have those videos today. But I don't want to do those videos with you because it makes me think of just like the future.
The end of life.
And I don't think about that. But we get to have those types of conversations through doing this, you know?
True. It's beautiful. Yeah. Nice to see you. Good morning.
Yeah,
morning. It's very tough kissing somebody with a hat on because often the bill of the hat hits you in the face. And at my age, your skin hits something, it just opens up and peels. We'll see. Bruce.
All right. I'm just going to let our guest in because I don't want to.
Oh, we have a guest today?
Yeah, I don't want to continue this conversation.
Can he hear us now?
Mm-hmm.
He can't hear us.
No, he can't hear us. I don't know. Okay. Let's let him in. So I have known our guest for quite some time. We met through work. I think he's absolutely fabulous. I don't really know where his story is going to go. Like I know where he's at now, but admittedly, I don't know too much about his story.
I know nothing about who he is.
Or what right, well, let's let Kyle in. Here we go.
Kyle, come on. Kyle. Oh, hello.
Great profile picture. Look at that. That's a really good profile picture. You're on mute. Get us off mute. Get us off.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to Facial Hair Friday. Nice to see you.
I love it.
Yeah, they both have like the matching facial hair. Just Kyle's is a little bit darker because he's kind of younger.
That description was totally uncalled for.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you both doing today?
9.125.
Yeah, my dad's number is a 9.125. I would say, and Kyle knows because he's been with me when I've asked his questions before, I would say I'm like a 7.125.
You may be higher by the time we get finished.
Yeah, I think
that's low for Jamie.
Well, no, I mean, I think that, you know, I would say like my highest that I get is probably like an 8.5. And I say that just because like there's a good point and a half where there's so many things going through my mind to worry about, you know, my parents, my kid, my husband, my friends, the world. I'm a worrier.
I hate to give too much fan to the Chinese population. I love the Chinese people, but the Chinese philosophy is fantastic. Is that all throughout life, you should really never get overly excited or overly depressed. If you maintain an even keel, it's the best way to go through life. People have actually died being too excited and also being too depressed.
Well, I met a woman this morning who like pulled a muscle because she got too scared. Someone scared her real fast.
My validation right away.
What's your number, Kyle?
What was that?
What's your number?
Oh goodness, I would say I'm an 8.5 today. I mean, it's Friday, right? We're heading into the weekend. I get to spend some time with friends and family this weekend, and I can't believe May's almost here.
Oh God.
I know. And it's funny, this is airing at a later date. So sorry, listeners. It may not be Friday for you. It may already be, in August. It's okay. We don't edit this.
The
We're
May
unfiltered.
flowers are gone. They're
Yeah,
out.
we're unfiltered.
Yes,
They're like, I don't understand, Kyle. It's snowing outside. It's December.
right?
Let me give you a perspective. The younger man, you said you can't believe May is here. I can't believe 2025 is here.
It's insane. My husband and I, we became adults and sat down with a financial advisor recently, and we have a 20-year plan for retirement. And 20 years seems far away, but when you think about it, 2005, that
Hello.
was that long ago, right?
I
Like,
know.
Go back and do a 40-year plan. You'll feel better.
It is really weird, like just thinking about how fast life goes and how things change. And it's
That means you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, well, that is true most of the time.
Everybody has like mild depressions in their life, but that time, the time and during depression actually slows down dramatically.
Huh.
Thank you for the theatrical effect there. All right, it's not about us, it's about you, Kyle. So Kyle, actually, why don't we just lean into that? You said you're at 8.5. What would it take for you to go from an 8.5 to a 0.25 higher?
Goodness, I would say I get the rest of the day off from work. That would
Hey, goodbye. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, that would just make it. But I love my employer, so, we're good there. But, speaking about life, Jamie, when you and I talked, what was it, back in January, you opened up for SHRA, which I'm president of this year. Love my group. All the volunteers are just amazing. In fact, not to throw your listeners off again, but it is National Volunteer Week this week. So, we've set out some, extra messages to my volunteers just as an extra thank you. And looking at me now, right? We're in Florida, we're loving life, president of SHRA, master's degree in HR, really enjoying my current position that I'm at with my employer.
What is SHRA?
Oh yeah, so SHRA, it's the Sarasota-Manatee Human Resources Association. And I've been part of them since 2018. I've been volunteering. I can't believe the time has gone by that quickly with SHRA. And Jamie, you and I met, I think, through Tammy via, at the county. And, she actually poached me from a SHRA event to go work with her at the county. So if it wasn't for SHRA, we might not be here today.
True. It's true.
Hurrah for SHRA.
And there we go. Oh, that could be a new thing. Hurrah for SHRA. Look at that.
Hurrah for SHRA. Yeah. No, I love
the drugs coming back. That's all.
But, as I was saying earlier, we talked about in January, and, your podcast is about just everyday people. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to walk them through. You see me where I'm at today in terms of where I'm sitting. However, let's back up the clock a little bit, right? So, let's back up to, oh my gosh, let's go into the 90s, right? Who doesn't love the 90s? Love the 90s.
It's funny, Kyle, you're saying that before you continue, not to interrupt you, but I said to my dad, I said, I know Kyle, but I don't know Kyle. So I'm so excited to do this. So go for it.
Can we do some 90s background music? Sorry.
So I grew up in Oakland County, Michigan, born and raised the Midwest style. Two parents, obviously, mom and dad. Dad was a union guy who was a floor layer for all over Oakland County. So if we would go to local grocery stores or different schools, he laid all those floors there. So it was really kind of cool to just go grocery shopping and you're like, hey, my dad did this floor, right? And my mom, she was in finance. That's where I got my financial smarts from. So thank you, Mom, in advance. But, growing up, I was an only child. And, school was boring to me. I don't know about you, Jamie, but elementary was fun. Middle school was kind of, why are we here?
Shit show for everyone. It's
shit show. We're all going through puberty and everything else. And high school comes around and I'm just kind of flowing through like I did in elementary school, right? And then some of my friends who we were all in the marching band together, I played baritone, so shout out to anyone who played that.
Right.
That's
Trumpet.
Trumpet. I started off with a cornet and then went to baritone.
Still got the chops?
What was that?
Still got the chops?
Not really.
What's it?
I had a bigger mouthpiece though on the baritone, so it wasn't as small as the trumpet cornet was,
Did you hear
thankfully.
that sound? Because I know Zoom's
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, I heard it.
I think I hurt myself.
Because Zoom will filter some stuff out, so I'm like, I don't know if they filtered
They
that
do,
out.
yeah. No, they do. So, a lot of my friends are talking about going to college, and I'm like your C student, right? C's get degrees is, kind of how I always thought about it. And coming up on like junior year, I'm like, well, what am I doing? Right? Like, I haven't really been proactive. What am I going to do? Like, I don't know anything. And my high school offered an off-site school for a half a day. And you could go to like workshops for like building. You could go into business management. You could go into culinary arts. And I think there was a few other programs like automotive, right? We're the Motor City. So of course there's a ton of
Great program. Great.
yeah,
So
ton
wait,
of
you do it like
automotive.
every week you go for half a day, or how did that work?
Every day you go.
Oh, wow.
So my senior year, my mom said, if you like cooking, why don't you try this culinary thing for a year and see if you like it? So I would go to school at culinary school for 3 hours every morning and then drive to high school and finish out the day my senior year.
Fabulous.
That's
I
so
loved it.
cool.
It's an apprenticeship.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thing,
Yeah, similar, which we'll get there. We'll get there. And as time went on, I was like, I really like this. You know how fast a school year flies by now, being an adult, right? But as a kid, you're like, oh, it's January. And during this whole time in the background, my parents have separated. And it was for the better for the family. I'm still connected to both. My mom lives here. My dad's in Michigan. I see him when I go up there to visit. And my mom said, well, I have to sell the house and I'm moving back to Florida when you're done with high school.
Mm.
And she was a Florida girl. She grew up on the other side in Fort Lauderdale. She, loves it over there. Had kind of a rough childhood, hitched a ride with her cousin, literally hitchhiking up to Michigan when she was like 16.
A little safer then.
And
safer.
Was it though?
Yeah.
It's a little safer,
Yeah.
not a lot.
And went up to live with her aunt, and the Rogers boys lived on the other neighborhood, so you can put that whole math together of how they met. And so she said, I want to go back to Florida. I want to go to the other side of the state this time. And do you want to go? And, when you're 18, you know everything, right? I'm sure you two may have had, a few little disagreements during that time frame.
Actually, there's 3 girls in my family, and I cause the least amount of problems.
You're both the king and queen of minimalism and understatement.
So, she's like, do you want to go? And I said, no, I don't want to go with you. I want to stay with my friends, right? Like, I don't need mom. Finished out this culinary school with high school, signed up for college, and went into a 3-year apprenticeship for culinary.
Wow.
I landed a position through a local airport, Oakland County Airport. And what I ended up doing was going to school 1 day a week and then working 5 or 6 days a week, like, noon to midnight every day.
In the airport?
At the airport, cooking for private jets that flew out.
No way.
Yeah. So, I kind of merged into it and saw my friends kind of go away to college land, right? I'm doing this apprenticeship. I'm a commuter back to school. And the first semester or so was great. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
the question
I felt I felt like I was just back in middle school. Like, I just kind of was going with the flow. Like, culinary school sounded good, so went with it. And this whole time too, I'm living on my own, right? I moved in with my mom's friend when she first left Michigan. and then ended up moving into an apartment with friends and then moving into my own apartment. And I remember my friends, they're out at the college campuses partying, right? They're having the college life and they're like, Kyle, like you just went from zero to adult in 18 months. You have your own car insurance, you have to pay for your own car, you have to pay for your own living. And that was like my drive, right? So I always had a passion to like keep driving and pushing myself forward for the better.
Is that an only child thing you think, or is that a Kyle thing?
Oh, I think it's an only child thing and also mixed with Capricorns, right? Because we're kind of like that driving person to always push forward and set goals for ourselves.
Okay. All right.
So inside culinary school, we're in the mid 2000s at this point, and not only am I dealing with life, being out on my own. Oh, by the way, I'm gay, right? Let's throw that in there. So, coming out of the closet in the mid 2000s, still kind of itchy for a lot of people going through that time.
How old were
It's
you at that time when you came out?
it's still newer. 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was 20. I had been dating my high school sweetheart, Heather, which her and I are still best friends today. Went through a rough patch when everything happened, but we're very close. In fact, I'm excited to see her again this summer.
Did you go to her wedding? Did you go to her wedding or was that a different friend?
Different friend.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, different. But yeah, so again, her and I are still close, but hurdling over that was just like another hurdle to get over in the midst of what do I want to do after culinary school, right? What do I want to do? Because I'm working 12-hour days every weekend and every holiday.
Last question. During that stage of your life, was time apparently going slow or quickly?
Ooh. Time is going at the pace I wanted it to, I
Mm.
would say. Yeah.
Slower or faster than right now? Than where you're at
Oh,
now?
slower,
Yeah.
slower. Yeah, I think because when you're that young, everything's new, right? So everything seems a little like it takes a little bit longer to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so during that time, came out, did that whole thing, met my first love, you can say, and he was finishing up his bachelor's degree at a local university there in Michigan. It was Oakland University. And he said, you work really well with people. Like, I see you out there in culinary world. You talk to these employees all day long. You talk with your customers. And to segue for a sec, my customers were amazing. They were flight attendants who flew out all the time with movie stars. So,
Wow.
I saw like when Desperate Housewives was still up and cool, like Eva Longoria came through.
Oh, wow. You got
Saw
to meet
Tim
the
Allen.
passengers? You met the
What
passengers?
was that?
You got to meet all the passengers?
Didn't get to necessarily meet them because professionally you weren't allowed to go up and say hello, but if you ran into them, so be it. I always get to laugh. I got to pee next to Tim Allen. So fun fact there.
Oh, oh,
And
oh.
if he ever listens to this, right? I wanted so bad to turn and be like, Heidi ho, neighbor, but I didn't do it. But I really wanted to.
Oh my God, that would have been
We
amazing.
actually have him on speed dial. You ready?
Yeah, let's
I
go.
mean, I mean,
Fun
I mean,
story.
P dial.
Well, fun story. We lived in California for like 9 months of my high school year, and my little sister was best friends with Jonathan Taylor Thomas. So he was at our
Really?
house all the time.
You took
He
him out
came
to
to dinner
dinner.
with us. Like, yeah, we have all these pictures with him. Yeah, it was super
Are you
funny.
still connected?
What's that?
Are you still connected to him?
No, no, no.
We've gone on to bigger things.
Tim on speed dial.
Right? So yeah, and who else? Bare Naked Ladies, the band. I got to make lunch for them. Super fun group to speak with.
Cool. We had
But
my friend Patrick on not too long ago, and he is a flight attendant he's done it for a couple different people, but for Wayne Hazanga for a long time, who is obviously was the
Blockbuster.
owner of Blockbuster and Waste Management. And so it's such a cool world. And we're gonna have have you ever met John Detloff? You know that name?
no.
So he lives here locally, but that's what he does. He's a chef for private jets. So he's gonna be on as well too. So it's such a cool
Awesome.
connection.
Yeah,
Go
same
ahead.
kind of connection, definitely. So my ex, he really pushed me to, keep going. He's like, you're done with culinary school. You have a few more classes to take, you get your associates. Why don't you do that? I'm like, okay. In the
Good.
midst of taking a few courses, you had to do a project on something in the business world. I chose to interview the HR director at the airport at the time.
Oh,
And from there, it just sparked me, Jamie. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I like what she does. She gets to work with employees. She gets to do benefits, like the heartbeat of an organization.
yeah.
So I went forward, kept going to school, went for my undergrad in HR,
Up in
and
Michigan?
up in Michigan, yeah, at Oakland University, go Grizzlies, and graduated there in 2011, which, if you recall at that time, we were just getting through the tanking of an economy.
People had laid everybody off, all positions.
Everyone was laid off. And,
You
let's
wanted a job.
yeah, let's go find a job. So, let's back that up for a minute too. Like being in that 2000 era and being a millennial, we were told that all of these baby boomers were going to retire by 2010.
Oh,
So,
baby boomers, yeah, baby.
You didn't
right?
retire till-
I did later,
But what year did you retire? Like
about
20?
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, later. Yeah, later than what we were told. So, we walk out with these shiny paper degrees in our hands, right? We're ready for a job, and it's like, well, if you want to take an unpaid internship for 6 months, we might be able to offer you a position that pays like $11 an hour.
Well, there was no money in the budgets for anything. I mean, I lost my job in
Nothing.
2008. 2000, no, when did I lose my,
What job was
yeah,
this?
when I worked at Lennar.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was tough. And I ended up landing a job directly after school with a little local organization. But I'll tell you, my mentor there, Christy Stutzer, she was my first report to HR director. Loved her. She taught me what I needed to know. And uh, a funny part was is she was very big on communication to employees. So, writing memos, because, it was before Teams was out, right? We got to throw it back to like Windows 7 days, not, where we're at today.
Well, people still
And
made phone calls because email was like an extra.
exactly,
It was like,
exactly.
but yeah, it was like you were calling, and then sometimes you'd email. Now we rarely call. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no. So she would just critique the hell out of these memos. And I'm like, Christy, what is going on? Obviously, this is more before ChatGPT and all these AI self-writing tools. And about 2 months in, she goes, by the way, I was a news editor for 5 years, so I've never looked at writing to employees the same way ever since working with Christy, but I thank her for it.
That's funny. That's like having an English teacher be reviewing your emails.
100%.
Or an
So,
attorney.
oh, yes,
My
attorneys as
husband.
well.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you that story in a second, but go ahead.
No, yeah, I want to hear. So after that, graduation, getting settled down, my ex and I split up. And I'm like, okay, what do I do next? Right? Like, I'm tired of school. I've been in school for years. I could be a doctor by now. End up running into Chris via just an app out there, who's my current husband back in 2013.
In
Got to
Michigan.
know him in Michigan. Yeah, great guy. And I think, you know what? I need to get my master's degree, like just out of the blue.
I've been in school for so long. I'm going to
I
go
know. Yeah, I've been in so long. I'm ready to go back. Yeah, just,
back.
I do it well. I do know what you do
yeah.
well and keep doing it.
So I start looking, and Chris is like, we want to leave Michigan. Don't go back to OU because they didn't offer an online program at the time.
He had the vision.
Had the vision. So I ended up signing up for University of Louisville. You have to say it correct. Anyone from Louisville will tell you, you have to say it like you have marbles in your mouth.
Like,
Louisville.
that's like Barcelona.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
And they had an online HR program for HR management. So I actually started in Michigan and moved down to Florida in late 2016. So we've been down here for almost 9 years.
But you went to school in Louisville, or you did
It was
all?
an online program. started at Michigan and then finished it out down here.
How did you pick there? Because that was the only place that had the online program.
They were one of the few at the time because again, this is what 10 years ago now. We're looking at this and they were one of the only accredited schools that was still connected to brick and mortar. Nothing against like University of Phoenix, which I heard is like a shed out in the desert, right?
It's not. I did training there. I think it's amazing. They're incredible, and I love my UOP team.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure they're great, but at the time, I was still like very like I need to find this older institution, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Kyle, fast question.
So I ended up going to Louisville.
First question. Can you say in 10 words or less what you study in culinary school?
In culinary school?
Yeah.
Culinary.
There you go.
Oh gosh. So I studied. What did I study? So they sent you through everything. They sent you from the front of the kitchen through like garde manger, which is like your salads and your entrees and your soups. They put you through into your main entrees. So you did everything like beef, chicken, pork, fish, learning how to cut everything, all the specific cuts. I still have my book behind me from culinary school. And all the way down to bake shop. We had 3 semesters of bake shop, like just 101 baking with like bread and cakes, all the way to like refined sugars. And
like be ridiculously well. Like,
what was that?
Are you cooking all your meals for you and Chris?
We go on and off. So I had my gallbladder removed in 2019.
Ooh, that's young.
And since then, dairy and meat do not sit with me well. So I actually went more the vegan route. And so we've been like just honing in on like tofu and a lot of Indian dishes. If you like Indian, I'll give you a recipe after this.
Ooh, yeah, I love all foods. All right, sorry, go back to your case. So now that my dad went on his squirrel moment. So you graduate with your master's. You and Chris moved to Sarasota, or where'd you move to?
Yeah, we actually rented a house for about a year while we built this one. And during that time, we're also planning for a wedding. So Chris proposed to me on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan at a little jewelry store called Tiffany's. You may have heard of it.
Little blue box.
Little blue box, yeah. Shocked me, froze me in my steps, kind of like Sweet Home Alabama did the same thing to me, like just what's happening right now.
He went out the store and you could walk in and pick whatever you wanted.
Wasn't that lucky. But my friend Lauren from high school, her mother worked for Tiffany's for 20 plus years at the Michigan location. And so he actually contacted her, had the ring sent to New York, and she had everything all set up for us.
That's unique.
So cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, when you're moving, you're building a house with life, right? There's so much going on, getting married. Yeah. Well, we did it, right? We got married, we built the house, we moved in. I landed with the Tammy at the county, working in HR, got my master's.
Everything was coming together.
But then what happens? Right?
COVID.
Like you get a low, right? Have you experienced that?
Everything's there, but you still don't feel like you have what you want.
Yeah, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like you've made it, but now you're looking up going, what's next?
Yeah.
Is that all there is?
Well, and I think that's interesting that you say that, because especially someone who's like looking at you from the outside, right? I think that's how we compare ourselves to other people, where we think we'll have it all. But in that moment, you did have it all, but you didn't feel like you did, right? So
exactly.
I'm finally writing my book. And one of the chapters is about like comparison and how you just cannot compare yourself to somebody else because they could be at chapter 20 and you're at chapter 4.
Yes.
So they may look like they've got it all together, but do you really want that? Right. So there's so many factors that go into that. So
no, I love that. I just recently read a book by Mel Robbins that's called Let Them. Don't know if you've read that yet.
Yep.
But, she talks about that, and I've talked about it with my friends. There's so many different stages of life between 18 to like 25, and then 25 to like mid-30s.
Yeah.
And everyone is just at a different path. I had my friends who went to that traditional college, right, and graduated and hopefully found a job in that great economy we had. And I know friends who did all that and they're not doing what they went to school for because it just wasn't there.
Yeah. Or even just like even relationships. They go to school, they go to college, they get married, they have the 2.5 kids.
Yeah.
It's like but that's the thing. It's like we create this, and because of just life and in the world, we create what's this normal thing that you're supposed to experience, right?
The roadmap.
But there is no normal. Like there's no clear map. Like no one, we shouldn't all be doing the same things. We shouldn't be all loving the same people. It's like you have to choose your own path.
Like
So
you have to be your own self.
yeah.
And it's like by accomplishing those degrees and coming up from basically the bottom, right? Like living in like a bedroom apartment for a while, all the way up to, I have this beautiful house in Sarasota. Chris and I, we invested a few years ago during COVID. We bought a rental house in Fort Lauderdale. So it's crazy to look at the whole map of everything. But like you're saying, there's so many different stages of life. And when you get done with the marriage and the school and the house, it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, I need to get out there. My extrovert self was like, I can't just sit here and just do life. So
And what does Chris do is he in the same type of field as you?
so he is a mortgage underwriting manager.
Okay. So I'm trying to see like your relationship of like what you guys do, and it's okay. Got it. All right, continue.
Yeah, so
You're
he's
at this
like
point.
the house guru, like everything house, especially the rental house. He's done a tremendous amount of work for us on it, and I love and appreciate him for that.
Got it. Amongst many other reasons, I'm sure.
Yes,
But
of
so you
course.
get to this place and you're sitting there one day and you're like, I have it all, but I don't have it all. This isn't enough. So what do you do?
Yeah, so I started looking around like I'm in HR. What's going on in HR around here? And that's where I fell into SHRA.
Oh, you had
And
never been part of that before at all?
no,
That's so interesting.
not never. So, I started volunteering there, like front desk welcome check-in, and ended up moving up through membership director and then up into the executive committee levels. And it's been a great ride.
I love that.
And
Now you're Mr. President.
I know, yeah, right? But, during that time too, I can't just do one extra thing, right? Kyle has to do 10 extra things. So, picking up the rental houses I talked about. Back in 2019, we hosted an exchange student from the Czech Republic.
Oh,
His name is Simon. We still keep in touch with him. We love him to death.
so cool.
And I actually told Chris, I said, when we're done with Shra, like, I kind of want to do the exchange student again because I can't just put something down. Like, I have to keep moving.
I love that.
And Jamie, like you and I, we worked together with professionally with the county and outside with Shra, and we've even ran into each other at the Price is Right, which was a ton of fun. And I get those same vibes from you as well. Like, it's like you can't just sit down, right? You have to keep moving forward and keep that energy.
Yeah. Well, so it's so interesting that you say that. Um, have you guys ever thought about fostering and doing that?
We have. So the caveat to that is Chris is 8 years older than I.
My husband's 8 years older
And
than me. Yep, totally fine. It's a good age.
yeah,
Good
so
distance.
he does not want to start from ground zero, creeping up on the big 5-0 in a few years. So that's why we thought, maybe we can give back to these students that are overseas that want to learn this American culture, like we did with Simon.
Yeah.
And yet we can still give them back, right? Like we have thought about the foster as well,
Or like
but
even like
we
a
just,
respite home. Like sometimes there's like you can be that like respite home where you just help those kids in between, if you've got that time.
yeah, no, I'll note that down because I haven't thought about that specific area of the kid topic, right? But yeah, so that's kind of what we've looked into in terms of kids.
Uh, but that's so like so okay, so you're doing so much on your plate. How do you navigate all of the different moving pieces? Like that's a like I mean, you've got so many different things going at one time. How do you navigate all of those?
Going back to what Stan said, right? Like, how did time feel back then, right? Well, I had everything planned out. So, like, every week or every day, we plan out the week. I'll ask Chris, what's for dinner this week? Sunday, he loves going grocery shopping, so he'll run off to Whole Foods or Publix and get everything together. So we have that planned out. And I plan out my week, what's going on with SHRM, what's going on with work. With work, I have to travel a little bit up to Tampa a few times a quarter, which is great. Love getting that face to face because I work fully remote. But also with SHRM, just organizing. We have our big annual conference coming up, which I hope you can join. And, the biggest thing that gives me,
before I forget, is that
yes,
I looked at that date. I meant to look at that. I saw
back
that.
out to your listeners again.
I know. It was such a great conference.
Right.
It was amazing. But you guys are talking about AI, I think, aren't you? It's like
We are. We're talking about AI. We also have one of the biggest announcements for SHRM since SHRM became SHRM.
oh, can you tell us now? Because this doesn't air until like August.
Yes, I will. If it's August, I will tell you. We are rebranding.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
Is that
so
something that you're driving because of your need for speed?
not quite.
Okay.
Actually, so it's funny you say, how are you keeping everything organized?
Yeah.
Well, when I tell work I'm going to an HR Florida event, or if I tell them I'm flying to DC to go to a SHRM event,
Yeah.
or I tell them I'm going to a SHRM event, they're like, how are all of these connected? And I'm like, well, we're all affiliates of SHRM, right? Well, we are turning to SHRM Sarasota.
Oh, that's so, it's so funny that you do that because like I think when I talk to people about what SHRA is, they get confused. They're like, oh, you mean SHRM? I'm like, no, SHRA. And I think that's brilliant. I think that that's a smart move. That's a really smart.
And HR Florida as well will be announcing their name change, which I believe, don't quote me, is going to be SHRM Florida as well.
That's
So
so
that way yeah, very smart. We're going to be under one roof. I think it's going to make us even stronger.
yeah.
Naples has already changed. I believe Orlando has, and there's several other local chapters changing their names.
So SHRM is SHRM. What does
So,
SHRM stand for then?
the Society for Human Resources,
Management?
yes,
Yeah.
management.
That is incredible. And I love that. And you get to be, how long is your term as a president?
It's 1 year,
Okay, so you're almost up then. You'll be up in, no, October?
December. Yes, December is the official last month, and then I'm going to roll it off to Shannon DiMatteo, who is my up and coming president-elect. She's just amazing, ton of energy as well.
Does this happen? The name change happen it does happen in your presidency.
It does. Yes. So SHRA started in 1963.
Wow.
So they've been around a very long time.
So we don't like to get political at all. We're not going to get political, but I know that in the current state of things that are going on, human resources teams have been challenged with some different challenges, right? And like it doesn't matter, it never matters really what side you're on, whatever. I'm not going to talk about that. But how do you, navigate that as a HR leader and
Yes.
organization? Because you probably have a lot of different opinions, right? So does that make a lot of presence in what you're doing now? Like, are you hearing that? Are you seeing that? Or is it just basically like, hey, we don't need to worry about that? Like, how do you navigate that?
Well, I think on both sides of life. So my SHRA as well as my current role. My current role, I'm the what are we called? People and culture business partner. And we have rebranded. So DE&I, for example, is obviously a hot button topic right now. We have rebranded that department. So it's not removing it. We've rebranded it to keep the culture of shift moving forward. So that way we're not just eliminating it like some employers, I'm sure we've all heard on the news, have been. In terms of SHRA or SHRM-Sarasota, as I love to call it soon, we're getting a lot of feedback in terms of, we want to know what's going on. Like we need to be updated. So example, last month, or I should say a few weeks ago, April's flying by, we had a legal update and he came in and talked about a lot of things going on coming down from the top of the government in DC all the way down to our employers. And it's eye-opening, the daily changes that are happening.
Well, and I think it's like we used to joke, and my dad and I would joke, and don't take offense to this as an HR professional. I hope nobody does. But we
Okay.
used to say, like, listen, HR, like, you don't ever want to call HR, like, you don't want to be on their radar. You don't want them to like know who you are. Like, you used to
Well,
always say, like, they're not your friend.
she was the dragon lady. She worked for the company, didn't really work for you. And they can't like say, we're internal affairs. We like to talk to you in a closed room. Come on in. Everything will be fine.
But so I think that you get a bad rap in human resources. You really do. And it's not, listen, you have what I like to call the toughest subject matter, humans. Like you have to
Yes.
deal with humans and like it's crazy. So, you know, how do you navigate that as a leader on a team that you're probably not liked? And not you personally, right? But like that's a lot, like most people like have that same
It's
connection.
like
Like,
it's your supervisor's supervisor.
yeah, it's how do you navigate that? Or how do you yeah.
If you think back to Stan, like the 80s, right? What was HR called? We were just personnel.
Wow.
If you remember, it was the movie with Christina Applegate, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Remember when she walked in and she's like, "You're supposed to go to personnel."
So
Do you
true.
remember that?
Oh my
I called it
gosh.
ATO.
What's that?
Avoid this office.
I love it. So,
But
we've
that shift has
changed a
happened
lot.
because people now they want you to come to them, right? There's been a big shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. So, we've shifted a lot from personnel to HR to, like I said, my current organization, we're people operations, right? It sounds better. It flows better.
Mhm.
And I remember when I first had that fresh degree in my hand from Oakland University, I worked at a Detroit diesel, so a full union worker line. And when you walk down that engine line, the guys would whistle because they knew personnel was there. And they didn't want anyone doing anything incorrectly because HR is walking by. And that's not what we want, right? We don't want to not be liked.
And hence the term whistleblower was born.
Yeah, hey, there you go. And, so over the last, I would say 5 to 8 years, we've seen a huge shift from we're not just this paper pusher, we have a foot in the C-suite now. And, we're there to make everyone succeed and make them better
Yeah. Well,
and
there's a lot of
help
chief
them.
people officers now. Like that's a new role that I don't think was around
Yes.
for a
And
long time.
help them succeed and not just, Jamie, you are an admin assistant and here you go. No, we want to put like an entire career architecture in place for you to say you're starting off as an assistant here, as an admin, but you're going to move up to this HR coordinator. You're going to move into a generalist business partner, and we can see you being in the C-suite one day, right?
Yeah.
And that's the positive spin of HR these
Well,
days.
if the C-suite truly believes that people are your best asset, that works. So you're kind of like new school. I'm sure you're fighting some of the same old school ideas, but your people to lose valuable people, it's a killer.
Yeah. I
But
mean, what does it cost on average to lose a team member?
Oh my gosh, it's astronomical between the recruiting fees, the onboarding fees. I'm trying to think of when I was at the county. I want to say it was like 20 grand or something like that at the end of the day when you
one of my
include.
first big job out of college, I was a pharmaceutical rep for Purdue Frederick, and the lesson I had a great district manager. The guy was full company man, great mentor, but the guy above him was his manager years ago, and he got so that he pissed him off for some particular reason, and the higher guy he wanted to get this guy out, and then he got him out. And the guy was a fabulous asset for the company. So somebody
Yeah,
backed him up, but hopefully, I'm sure those things are still going to happen today. But your people are your best resource.
Yeah.
they are, and it hurts. It hurts my inside, hurts my heart when, I'm at these HR events, these SHRM events, and you have someone in an amazing HR role that wants to make this difference, but they're being snuffed out by the CEO or the CFO or someone they report to, and they want to do what's better for the employees, the employer. But at the end of the day, as we all know, we all have a job for a reason. It's not because we want to be out there working. We have mortgages, we have things we're financially responsible for. We're all on this fast track to get to retirement, right? Like I said earlier in the call, we have 20 years, that's our projected date. And it's hard for some of these HR professionals to see them suffer. And that's why you're losing these good HR professionals and why they're leaving and going to other organizations.
Yeah, that's why I need to get into those leaders and get them whipped into shape.
Exactly. Yeah. Jamie, you need to go in there and just wave your
Very-
positive wands.
Where you 38?
Stop it. Oh my God.
Results.
Okay. So question for you. I mean, you've had such a colorful past and I'm sure the future will be just as colorful. What would you say were your two biggest challenges throughout your lifetime that created who you are today because you overcame them?
Plus, I have a career choice. As he becomes more available after he's replaced by the presidency, I have a career choice for him, which will be phenomenal. It'll go national. We'll talk about it shortly.
Okay, pause.
Yes.
Love segue. Love segue. So I would say my two biggest challenges was getting through that first half of school. And what I mean by first half is up to my undergrad. Because I started in 04 and I walked in 11. It's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say my second hurdle was going through a separation. So I mentioned my ex briefly back there. We were together for about 5 years. And when you're 21 to 26, that's a long time of your life, right?
Plus,
That's
that was your first love. He was your first love. Yeah.
Yes. And, going through that and thinking you have this future ahead, right? You just got this house because if you remember back in 2010, Obama was giving out those first-time homebuyer credits. We took full advantage of that. And, we're going to get a boat this summer. We're going to do all that. And then it all comes to an end by one ripcord there and pulled it out. It's kind of like, oh, I got to go back. I got to go back. Got to go back to the bottom a little bit and work my way back up. And I think those are the times that are the toughest, Jamie and Stan, but also I think they make you stronger at the end.
What did you lean into in those moments to help you get through them?
I had a lot of good friends. So my friend Heather, who we've talked about earlier, as well as my friend Chuck, who's a flight attendant as well. He's been flying since 2008. He started with Northwest Airlines, if you remember that brand. And those two really helped me. Chuck actually took me in. He let me live with him for about 8 months until I found my home in Berkeley, Michigan.
There's such a value in friendships. And I
There
think
is.
like I read this poem one time that was like season, reason, lifetime. And I truly believe in it. And the whole concept behind the poem is that there's people that come into your life for a season, some people come into your life for a reason, and then there's some people that come into your life for a lifetime. And I have friends like that. I've had friends who I know that I knew them for a short amount of time, but they were so impactful in my life. And then just because of life circumstances and where we lived or where we moved or whatever, or just what happens, you no longer become friends. Then there's people who I think come into my life for a reason. And then you got those lifetime long friends like you have with Heather and Chuck, who you just know that no matter what, and I'm not speaking in a term, but I feel like just by hearing you speak about them, that you could pick up the phone. You may not talk to them for like 3 months, but you could pick up the phone and they would be there for you in a second. And I think that there's just such a value in all three stages of that you have to lean into that at any moment. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would say Heather 100%. Her and I text practically daily. Chuck has kind of flown off into the sunset a little bit, but I'm hoping to do a cruise with him next year. But like you said, there's those other friends out there, along the way, culinary school. By the time we graduated, there was only 5 of us. We started with 35 in that apprenticeship. So we're the Fantastic Five. We get together every time I go to Michigan.
Yeah, you're the Gordon Ramsay graduates.
I have my friend Bliss. Her and we worked hard to get through our undergrad. And she was also the one who kind of pushed me a little bit to go for that master's as well. So I thank her for that.
And then you've got Chris. So
yes, as well.
What was your thing about?
Yeah, I'm dying to know, Stan, what's the next move here?
What do you have planned when your current residency is expired? What are you doing?
Yeah, so great question. We're restructuring our plan. As I said, we put together a retirement plan. We're selling both houses soon, and we're looking to move in the same area. I think, Jamie, I told you we're kind of looking in that River Club, Lakewood Ranch area.
I'll be my neighbor.
Yeah. As well as right around where we're at now, which still isn't far from you. And I'm a big homey person in terms of improvements. I love working on things. I like, building and drywall and light electrical and plumbing. So, we're looking at these late 90s, early 2000s houses that still have like the TV stands in the bedroom, like
A
built in up
lot of work,
high,
brother. Oh, a lot of hidden dangers in some of those houses, man.
right? So, I'm looking to tackle something like that as a project. On top of, I would love to teach HR. So that's kind of in my horizon. I want to look back into Louisville or another school and maybe do just like a basic HR 101 class kind of thing for undergraduates.
I love that. You'd be so good at
Are
that. I
you
love
ready for your
that.
new career choice? You ready?
Oh my God.
Yes.
I apologize in advance to the listeners and to you, Kyle. I have no idea what's about to come out of his mouth.
I have never been a big fan of public education. Even my college degree from Boston University, to me, you go for 4 years, undergraduate really isn't worth that much. Are you familiar with Mike Rowe's program as far as getting people out there into blue collar jobs? Mike Rowe, the guy from Dirty Jobs,
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
he's
Yes.
got a whole
I've
foundation.
seen the show.
He's got a whole foundation now for getting people out there for welders, for electricians. He's got all kinds of grants and stuff. It's huge. What I'm suggesting is to do something that could have national implications, but I believe in crawling before one walks and then
Hmm.
running is I call it the shadow foundation. It sounds a little ominous. We have to work with the connotation, but the experience you had, we all go through school with really no experience of the outside world. I want to be a doctor, but you've never been in a hospital. I want to be in retail, never been in a retail store. Is give people the opportunity on a very small scale to start as an apprenticeship. Let somebody shadow someone for a day or a week. I'd start something small in the school system or with HR, or get people to sign up, doctors to volunteer, engineers or county people, just one from every profession. Let somebody shadow with you for a very short period of time. It gives people the experience of seeing what something may be like, and then listen to your gut. It can direct them and you spend a lot of time out there finding what you like. But I think the
Yeah.
Shadow Foundation could do something on a national basis, and I'm sure there's even grants for something of that nature. That's it. That's my pitch.
I like that. And I've had an intern in the past, when I worked, well, we won't mention the employer's name, but one of my first roles down here in Florida, I had an intern, Abby, and I taught her the mail merge between Word and Excel. You know, one of your first basic HR things you learn. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget, like 2 years later, she gone off. I think she's living up north somewhere now. And she texted me one random, like, idle Tuesday afternoon and said, Kyle, I'm so thankful for you teaching me mail merge. And it just made me feel so good inside. So I can relate to that, Stan, and I will think about that.
Because years ago, the
Well,
apprenticeship program was very large in the country. If you want to be an apprentice, you would apprentice with someone for
Yeah.
a year or two, be it a blacksmith or be it a welder. I'm saying even before that, get the concept going and try something. You want to be a doctor? Go spend 2 days in the hospital. Oh, I can't stand the sight of blood. I'll do something different. But I think there's just
Yep.
wide-ranging application.
yeah. Does your high school that you went to in Michigan still do that type of a program?
I believe they do. It was called Oakland Technical School or Oakland Technical College. I'll have
Because
to
they
look
can
it
blend
up.
it with your regular high school days. It sounds rather unique.
It did, yes. And I loved it. And, looking back, just going through life, right? Between culinary and HR and going through everything, I want to say too, what's important, and this for all listeners out there, is you got to have your basic street smarts in life as well, right? You got to be able to read people because there's people that are in it for themselves
Mhm.
and they're not going to help you at all. There's people that will mentor you, and there are people that are abuse you as well.
Yeah.
And you have to have that street smarts to be able to navigate through everybody. When you feel like you're in that wrong situation, get out of it.
Yeah.
And
Can you really teach?
uh,
Can you really teach somebody that?
Street smarts. I think it's
I,
kind of critical thinking, right? Like
Well,
you
I think
just,
it's critical thinking.
and
And
listening to your gut. Your gut will never lie to you.
that's what it is.
but here's where the
Yeah.
problem is, right? So, we've lost a lot of the fundamental skills that allows the next generations to critically think for themselves, and then they grow up and they become adults. And what I mean by that, I had this conversation with somebody last night, and she's an only child. I have an only child. And I was saying, what did your parents do to really help you succeed as a child? She goes, well, they took me with them everywhere and they made me have conversations. I wasn't on a device. They made me talk to people and I became really well versed in talking with adults. And I never was worried about like all these cool things. But it reminded me that the most simple piece of that is knowing how to communicate. And this is a fundamental thing that happened when I was a kid that does not happen anymore, that is really going to screw up the world and already has. And I'll share with you what it is. So when I was my daughter's age, I would want to talk with my friends or make a play date. My mom
Oh,
didn't schedule that for me. My dad didn't do that for me. I had to go home, pick up my house phone, call my friend's house and say, hi, Mr. Brown, can I speak with, so-and-so? They would
yeah.
yes, they're home, yes or not. They would get them on the phone and then we would talk on the phone for hours about nothing, just talk on the phone for hours. That doesn't happen anymore. If
It's
my daughter
gone.
wants to have a
It
play
is
date,
gone.
yeah, if she wants to have a play date, mommy, can you text her mom and ask if they can have a play date? And we've taken out that human piece of it. And so
Yeah.
we've screwed them up like that. Like they don't know how to have a conversation. They don't know how to talk for 3 hours. They don't know how to ask, Mr. or Mrs. Brown, can I please speak to your child? Even leaving messages on an answering machine. They
Yes.
don't know how to do that. It's become texting. And so street smarts, and it's for me, it's all interconnected.
It is.
Kids are not allowed to go outside and play anymore on their own and figure it out. Like I remember we would go in our backyard and we had a neighborhood behind us. There was a ditch. And we went out, we were playing, we made a fort, we got a bridge that went over the ditch, and we were in trouble and we felt safe and just be home in a couple hours. There's not a chance in hell I'd let my daughter do that today. Right.
Come home before the street lights come on.
Right. But it's not even like, I mean, like, she's playing outside with the neighbors and I'm outside watching. And that's because we have too much access to information. You said earlier, was it safer for your mom to hitchhike back then than it is today? I don't
On a
know.
relative scale.
Right. Because like we just didn't
Yeah.
know then. Right. And so, like, we as a society, and I'm not talking American, I'm talking like the world,
World, yeah.
we've heard the problem.
You're in a technology transition period. How long that lasts to change it to gets better remains to be seen.
Yes, but you can stop it, right?
Oh,
so like technology, like there are families who will go to dinner and every single person's on a device.
Yeah, it drives me insane. Like, even at home, our phones are in the kitchen at night. Like, we do not go to bed with the phones in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's so important. But to back up again, to segue here, in terms of growing up and what you need to know, my mom had me being an only child. I told you they work full time. I did laundry at age 7 and 8 on the old Kenmar washer and dryer in the weird, scary basement we
sue your
had.
mother. There's no statute of limitations. You can sue
Right.
her.
Mowing the grass, right? And eager to get my license. You want to talk about eager? I've seen TikToks recently where kids like they don't even want their license. So like, well, why do I need a license? And it's like that was your freedom. Like you knew how to do stuff. You left to do it. And I don't think they're being prepped enough for at least a history lesson of what we did.
Yeah. It's just we've taken away. I mean, listen, there's obviously benefits to technology. We're able to do this and multiple benefits.
Sure.
I think that you have to balance that with growing humans and teaching other humans, whether that's being in an HR role and a mentorship role, as a parent, as a friend, as a teacher. And we have to like quiet the noise that doesn't matter and get back to that humaning of helping people navigate life and critical thinking and street smarts and book smarts. And you can be a C student and still be incredibly successful. You don't have to put the pressure on to be gifted. Like everyone's like, is your child tested for gifted? Did your child test for gifted? First of all, it's none of your freaking business. And second of all, who cares? Like, who cares? Like, you know what? I have friends that were gifted and they are like working and doing nothing now. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it doesn't, none of that matters. And we put the pressure on the wrong things. And this could be a whole like 3-hour podcast.
I think it's safe to say you're not going to get that from parents today. Everybody is overly busy, overly consumed, overstimulated. The kids aren't going to they're not getting it from the parents now.
No, I agree. I mean, Jamie, growing up,
By the way, look,
right? Oh, hey, you're supporting, dial up, right? And then you're in the middle of this important IM that wasn't that important, and your mom picks up the phone to call like Aunt Diane, and it disconnects you, and it's the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
Kids these days, they just don't know.
Ah, the shadow foundation
Well,
lives.
and I'm working on a way to change that. So I can't announce it just yet, but I will tell
Single-handedly?
you. I mean, I'll start single-handedly, but like you, Kyle, I don't really start small. I mean, I do. I start small, but I can't sit still. And I think about like how can I impact the world? What can I change? What can I do? And so well, you can see it right there in front of you. There's something on my screen over here that will
Oh my God.
no, I mean it's part I mentioned the book, but there's a bigger plan that I'd love to have you, be part of. And
Yeah, no,
uh,
I would love that. I would love opportunity to work with you in the future. And I'll say one more thing too. What gives me my just motivation daily is the gym.
mm,
And we're talking about a person who didn't walk into a gym until 2.5 years ago. And I didn't just walk into a gym, I went to a CrossFit gym.
oh my
Oh,
gosh, that's great.
I went from 0 to 100, but I do it the 6 a.m. class in the mornings during the week, and that's what just pushes me along through life and through the weeks lately. And I love it. I have more energy.
I'm a 6 a.m.er as well too. Yoga. I same thing. Like
Yes, I
I
love
wake up.
yoga.
It sucks to wake up, but once you get there, it feels great. Well, Kyle,
Yes.
we are so grateful that you took time out of your day to talk with us. I love learning more about your story. I mean, it makes me love you even more. And I think it's incredible. I'm looking forward to, seeing you again very soon. I'm going to look at my calendar right now. I don't know where I am that date. Um, but also have an amazing weekend with your friends that you were looking forward to.
Thank you. And Stan, it was great to meet you.
my
And
pleasure.
Jamie, pleasure as always. I'm sure we will talk soon.
Yes, we will. Appreciate you, Kyle. Thank
Good luck,
you.
buddy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. Isn't he cool?
Well, was that his bedroom or was it a backdrop? Because
I think that's actually amazing.
I saw the bed and I like feel like I'm ready for a nap.
Like, aren't you? You're 76. Aren't you always ready for a nap?
But see, you talk about numbers. First, you ask what my number was. Now you're giving away my number. Come on, gosh,
I think
I
that's
just can't
so,
win.
but I love that. Like, it just is a total proven fact now that people start one way, end up, I mean, like, this his choices of going to school and a C student not realizing what he wanted and then getting a culinary and just
Yeah, but
you never know.
he's a unique kind of guy, a special guy. The problem is a lot of people just get to a level and stagnate for literally the rest of their lives. He's been growing continually.
Yeah.
He's pushing himself. He's on a search. He's got a hunger for that. Not everybody has that.
Well, and I correct. Yes, you are correct. And I think that the more we can inspire others by these stories and by hearing it, when like how many times do you hear a story that there was like a 65-year-old grandmother who decided she wanted to go to Hollywood and now she's like one of the most famous older actors or elder actors.
Who was
There's like a woman. She didn't start acting until she was like 65.
Listen, the reality is you're on this planet for a brief period of time. You've been given a gift called life. Maximize it.
Speaking of which, hold on. Do I have it over here somewhere? Stand by.
What did I start?
Okay, so I heard from somebody once before.
I fell into a burning ring of fire. Went down, down, down. With me?
I mean, I can do it with you, but you're gonna live beyond 100, so I'm not gonna like think about this.
News to
So,
me.
listener, you don't know this, but in front of me, I have a paper tape measure. Pull it out. That's something that you would use like to measure your waist, okay? And on here, there are, let's see, 100 centimeters. Okay. So say the average person lives to what age do you think?
I'd say 72.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to do that there. Okay,
78.
how long do you think you're going to live until?
2000 to the year or the age?
Age.
I go for 101.
Okay, so we'll go to the 100 there, okay? And you're how
Just a year of my life.
but you're 76 now, right?
Yes.
So I'm showing you this whole long tape right here. You're 76 right now. So I'm just going to tear this right here and look at you've already lived most of your life.
I'll take the bigger one.
But this is what you have left. Basically, I mean, like, look at this. Like, so it's like if that's what like when you visualize that and you see that, what do you want for those final years? What do you want to do differently? How do you want to experience things? Who do you want to impact?
Two
Who do
things.
you want to connect with? No, I'm not done talking.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Peace and quiet.
Shut up. What? Go ahead.
No, it was great watching the last season of White Lotus was terrible. But the one thing that came out, there was a guru in Thailand. Someone asked him what the meaning of life was. He said, "Does life go on? What is death?" He said, "When you're born, it's like a drop in the ocean gets shut out of the ocean way up into the atmosphere. And it's going up, it's going up, it's going up, and all of a sudden it gets to a point it can't go any further, and then it starts falling back until it joins the ocean. And to me, that's been such an impactful visual. I love that fact. You start someplace, you wind up in the same spot, but a lot of stuff happens in between. But the representation, the visual impact, I found very profound.
Well, listener, who knew that's where we'd go?
I'm going to the ocean this afternoon.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
It's low tide, don't worry.
No, you're not. All right, Dad. Thanks for being here.
This shows you.
Well, I just crumbled up your last years.
I felt some internal pressure.
Yeah. Well, listener, we appreciate you being here. Thanks for all your downloads and your continued support. We are excited to share this episode with you. And if you have an idea of somebody who should be our guest, go ahead and email us at connect@Jaime, Jaime, Marco, Marco. Oh, and
if you can't see us, we're blowing you kisses.
Until next time, that's Kyle's story.
Come on back, baby. Thank you very much. Bye. Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to JamieMarco.com. That's www.JAIMEMARCO.com. And we will see you next time.